All right, I guess we'll start. Hello and welcome to the TGI Connect customer panel webinar. I'm Todd Moore, Director of Lead Partnerships at TGI Connect, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. We're absolutely thrilled to have everybody with us here today. We have a number of attendees from companies from across Canada and the United States. So thank you very much for joining and taking the time out of your busy schedules to join our session today. For those that might not be familiar with TGI, I'll just give you a very quick snapshot of what we do and who we are. We specialize in satellite-based trailer tracking, integrated sensor technology, and automated reporting, all designed to enhance operational efficiencies and help reduce costs. Our solutions are 100% focused on the trailer and on improving trailer management. Today's session provides an opportunity to hear directly from two experienced professionals in the transportation industry that actually use TGI's trailer tracking solutions and are actually customers. Ritchie Perry and Darren Levine will share their insights, both from an operational and IT perspectives, highlighting challenges, some of their success, and how TGI Connect supports their operations on a daily basis. Our goal today is to give you kind of a practical, real-world insight from actual users like Ritchie and Darren, and also give you the opportunity to ask questions directly. We'll open the floor for a Q&A session at the end of our Q&A with our panelists, and we encourage you to kind of submit any questions you might have. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A icon, and you can submit a question privately to my colleague Alex, who will be monitoring those questions, and we'll discuss those questions at the end of our session. Just one last item. Please note that today's session is being recorded and may be used for future case studies or marketing material. And we'll also send out a link of the recording to all the attendees afterwards. So with that, I'm very pleased to introduce our two guest panelists. Our first guest is Ritchie Perry, process and tech strategist at Transstrat Solutions. Ritchie recently launched his own business after 34 years in various operational roles with one of Canada's largest carriers. Our second guest is Darren Levine, Vice President of Information Technology at Contrans Group, which is part of the TFI International family and one of North America's largest transportation and logistics companies. Gentlemen, thank you both for taking the time out and being our guests today. It's much appreciated. I know that brief introduction didn't do you guys justice, and I'm just wondering if you can briefly kind of give me a background on your experience and your roles in your current positions. And I'll start with you first, Ritchie, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Thanks, Todd. As you said, I just left an organization and moved on to my own business with 36 years in the operations and the tech side of the business. So, multiple jobs throughout the business, terminal manager, regional manager, support role. And in the last probably 10 or 15 years, it's been focused on more the technology and the operation side. So just implementing, supporting, rolling it out, training, and so on. So, and TGI was one of the products that we rolled out the last couple of years. So yeah, it's been fun.
Excellent. And you, Darren?
So I've been with the Contrans/TFI family for about 27 years, VP of IT. Our group of companies within TFI is about 40 different entities across North America and in Mexico. We have approximately 11,000 tractors. We have, I would say, 2,300 employees and probably another 12,000 drivers as well.
Wow. Well, something, great experience and expertise from both of our guests here. And obviously, you both worked for very, very large companies. So we look forward to diving into our discussion here today. So what I'll do, I'll start with you, Darren. Our first question is going to be kind of related to the economy. And obviously, for our guests on the session here, everybody knows that the last 12, 15, maybe even longer months have been somewhat challenging for many trucking companies in North America. So my question is, in times of economic uncertainty, businesses need to adapt quickly to manage costs. And with that in mind, Darren, how did trailer tracking with TGI help manage those costs effectively, especially when it mattered the most?
It was multiple ways that it really impacted our business. First of all, right sizing the fleet. So for our van operations, and for those of you that don't know, we're considered specialized within the TFI family. So we're van, flatbed, tank, bulk. We're a logistics arm. We're a dedicated arm. But especially for the van operation, they were trailing heavy, and they were a little skeptical at first. So what we did is we did a trial, and it became very evident that they were heavy on the trailing fleet. So right sizing the fleet was item number one, and number two was integrating the TGI solution into our maintenance software. So not only did we do maintenance based on time, but we started doing maintenance based on miles run on the trailing fleet, and it made a significant difference in our maintenance costs.
Excellent. And Richie, I'll pivot over to you. So I'm going to stay same question in regards to the economy, but from an operations perspective. So given the financial pressures companies are facing, improving operational efficiency becomes critical. And so Richie, with the economy creating tighter margins, how did you see TGI's trailer tracking and data solution helping improve your operational efficiencies?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. Obviously, one was to get a better handle on our fleet, just to be able to understand where it was. And, with incorporating into our maintenance system and our TMS, we were able to start doing maintenance on trailers by actual miles and not just by period or date and month. It was quite substantial in that piece. So very good.
Excellent. All right, Darren, I'll go back to you. And this, especially in your role there is a vice president of IT. This question relates to the decision-making process. So choosing the right solution for any business is obviously a big decision, especially when there's so many different options available to choose from. Darren, you evaluated multiple solutions, or you're part of that group that evaluated multiple solutions. So before you selected TGI, could you share what factors played the biggest role in your decision?
Simplicity of the installation was big. And I want to back up for a second and say, yes, IT played a part in the decision-making factor, but it's really to lay out the criteria to be measured. And it was operations and maintenance that ultimately made the decision. So the maintenance department loved the fact that we called it slap and stick, clean off a spot, throw on the TGI device. So installation became no more than 5 minutes versus some of the other solutions that could take upwards of 30 minutes. That was one of the big decisions. Another thing too, as we're right sizing the fleet, that means that we're also removing units. And with the harnessed solutions out there, the chafing on the cables were a big concern of ours. The other piece too is where we operate. Northern Ontario, in some cases, Northern Alberta, down in Texas in oil fields, and a satellite solution is going to work. Or a cellular solution or terrestrial-based solution, there's always gaps in the data. So what we did is we tried to prove that theory, and we put in 3 different solutions on a single trailer, and when we actually did this for multiple trailers, and compared the data accuracy between each solution, and TGI was by far the most accurate.
Excellent. Okay, Rich, I'll go back to you. The next question has to do around automation and yard checks. Automation is changing the way businesses operate and making tasks more efficient and less prone to error or human error. So, Richie, could you explain how TGI's automation, specifically of yard checks, has improved your operations, and what specific savings or efficiencies have you seen?
Yeah, it's really impacted the business. I mean, being able to have that automated and not have to have manual yard checks or physical yard checks at customer locations or terminal sites. Imagine very large trucking company having to have people go out and physically do that and report it back to head office with incorrect information, right? Somebody's writing it down or typing it, giving you wrong information. So it was really, really important to have that data accuracy, but also information for customers' yards. They have trailer banks, so knowing exactly what's in the yard, what's coming to their yard, and just that clear visibility instantly was a huge advantage.
Oh, excellent. That's good to hear. Back to you, Darren. This question's in relation to kind of ROI and cost justification, which is very important from the business bottom line. So the question is, understanding the return on investment is key when adopting any new solution. And Darren, you first reviewed TGI's ROI calculations. Did you find them realistic? And the second part of the question is, how did the solution ultimately perform against your expectations?
So I've never seen an ROI calculator that we felt was realistic. And so TGI was no different. When we looked at it, we were very skeptical. But the proof was in the pudding. When we put it into our van operation, the ROI was literally about 3.5 months. And from a technology perspective, we typically don't see that. We hope for 12 months. We usually target 18 months. So 3.5 month ROI was pretty darn impressive, and largely due to right-sizing the fleet. Then we had the added benefits of right-sizing the maintenance based on mileage, not just time.
Excellent. Okay, thanks, Darren. Ritchie, I'll go back to you. This question is in relation to kind of fleet visibility and utilization. In fleet management, visibility is key to optimizing performance. So Ritchie, how has the visibility provided by TGI helped optimize fleet utilization, and what value has it added to both your operations and to your customers?
I think, integrating, TGI into our TMS to have visibility in there and our reporting, for customers and yard checks. Also having visibility of, what type of equipment that we need to have in certain areas was able to just optimize the equipment that we currently have. And, as Darren said earlier, it allowed us to actually reduce our overall trailer bank, just not having to buy so much equipment. It really helped.
Okay, excellent. Darren, let me pivot back to you there. This question is going to be in relation to competitive advantage. So in a crowded market, obviously with various GPS vendors, it's important to find something that truly stands out. So Darren, what specifically stood out to you about TGI compared to other options, particularly regarding reliability and ease of implementation? I know you kind of touched briefly on implementation.
Well, I actually want to start with ease of doing business. First and foremost, we want to find a business partner that we can connect with. And I think the TGI group has proven that. So right down from the contract to pricing, then we get into the implementation phases. They just made it simple. It wasn't a big journey. It wasn't a big push or an ask to get anything done. The services were there. So one of the first things that we did was integrate, and I know I keep harping on this point, but I think it's important, is the integration with our maintenance system. Some vendors will tell you that it's going to be a month. Some will say 3 months. We knocked that off in less than a week. The data was there. It was easy to ingest into our systems. And that's really what we look for.
Okay, thank you. And Ritchie, my next question to you is going to be related to the impact on maintenance. And I know Darren had spoke to part of my question that Darren had kind of touched on it as well. So the question to you is, maintenance is a critical aspect of fleet management, and data can make the difference. Ritchie, from the maintenance perspective, how has tracking mileage versus time with TGI impacted your ability to plan and reduce costs?
Yeah, just integrating that into our systems, to your point, it's really helped it. I mean, obviously, reduced our overall costs. Instead of using, dates, we're actually going by actual mileage. So that's a dramatic reduction in cost. And as Darren said, the implementation of the product with such ease to put it together, the ROI after implementation was very short, very cost reductive.
Okay. And when you talk about the ease of implementation, can you just maybe give our audience, like, I know there's different factors. The solution obviously doesn't have any wires or batteries to change, but how long would it take your team to kind of implement the size of the fleet that you had or the number of devices you had? What was that? What did that period of time look like?
It was about 5 months, I think, with maybe a few stragglers at the end. But yeah, it was very quick for a large fleet, and we had a large maintenance shop, so it was easy to gather everything in as well.
Excellent. All right, Darren. My next kind of question kind of relates to coverage and flexibility. Obviously, with different technologies available, the type of coverage is a key consideration. TGI offers satellite tracking instead of cellular coverage or terrestrial coverage. Darren, how has that difference impacted your operation, particularly in ensuring reliability across all your assets? And I know you kind of touched on that in a previous answer, but how has that reliability assisted your company?
Well, again, the side-by-side comparison, I think, was the most fair way to do this. And what we saw was about a 5% improvement over cellular. So that added, there's multiple benefits to that. First of all, the data accuracy. I know we keep harping on mileage, but also just knowing where your trailer is at any given time. That's just huge for us. Secondly, if your trailers are parked again, Northern Ontario, Northern Alberta, or in the oil fields, you want to know where your trailer is. And if you're out of cell coverage, you're out of cell coverage. So having those yard checks, if you will, or having the security checks is peace of mind. We wanted something that we knew would just work everywhere. And that's what satellite does for us.
Excellent. Ritchie, just back to you. And this question is going to involve the driver experience. Obviously, both of you know you work for very large companies, and maintaining and retaining drivers is paramount, and recruiting new drivers is very important. So the driver experience can greatly influence the overall efficiency and satisfaction. Ritchie, how has the TGI solution improved the experience of your drivers, particularly in terms of saving them time and minimizing headaches on the road?
Yeah, it was a huge change for us, having multiple yards and having drivers being able to, drive right up to the trailer in a large facility, whether it's our yard or somebody else's yard. And then obviously dispatch advising, drivers, if they didn't have a phone, to use the app to go right into a yard and find it between said trailers. I mean, it definitely was a huge impact and a savings, obviously, where drivers not looking for trailers. Very easy to use, very easy installation.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Darren, back to you. The last question, one of the last questions here for you is the implementation experience, and I know you have touched on this, but implementing a new system can come with both challenges and success stories. So Darren, what was your experience like implementing TGI solution across your fleet? And a second part of that question is were there any aspects of the process that kind of stood out particularly that were seamless or challenging?
So I'm going to actually answer the first question, or the second question first. What really stood out wasn't really an IT project. I know that most companies have resource constraints, especially when it comes around to IT people. But this largely was standalone, aside from that one piece of integration. And even that was very, very simple. This is a standalone solution. It is a standalone website, and there's inherent advantages to that. And then interfacing, whether it's to your TMS or whether it's interfacing to your maintenance system, is simple with TGI. So I love the fact that we didn't consume resources that really didn't need to play a big stake in this, meaning the IT group. When it comes to the maintenance team, and I sit very close to them, so I'm in close contact, they liked the simplicity. Noha, I'll give her a big kudos. She helped project manage this thing just to make sure that we as an organization stayed on track with our targets. But I can't stress enough how simple it is when you just clean that spot off, throw in the TGI trailer tracker, 4 quick bolts, and you activate it and you're done. It truly is a 5-minute process. And most people will say, well, when it comes to installing anything whether it's in the cab of the truck or whether it's on the trailer, how can it be 5 minutes? Because it is truly a standalone, isolated device. And we very much appreciate that.
That's excellent. And just out of curiosity, Darren, I know you're a very large fleet, so you probably, I'm not sure, can't remember if you phased in the devices over time, but how long would it take you or your team to kind of install the TGI system or solution throughout your fleet?
Well, honestly, the way we've done it and the way other companies do it will be entirely different. It depends on if you're, van, tank, flatbed, bulk, and we're such a large, diverse fleet. It depends on which company you went to in the Contrans group. So, for example, the tank operations, tanks are back regularly, so we can get them installed very, very rapidly. Van operation, long haul, if they're not back for a couple of weeks, then obviously it can take a lot longer. So I really can't give you a solid answer on that one, but it's more about the installation than anything else. It truly is that simple.
That's perfect. Okay, thanks very much, Darren. Back to you, Ritchie. This question's in respect to kind of operational insights. The question is, data-driven insights help businesses stay agile and responsive. So Ritchie, with the TGI data and reporting, have you been able to adjust your operations and be more proactive and responsive to business needs?
Absolutely. We all know customers, change their plan day to day, and we have to react to that. And the ability to be able to search equipment by type and by area and realign for the next day's service or tonight's service was huge in our business. And also given access to our customer service that monitor some of our truckloads, to provide customers information as to ETAs and provide update ETAs with weather delays and so on the road. It's a great tool. I mean, the data is just unreal. And, to add along with Darren, the installation is just so easy to do.
Okay, excellent. And I guess go back to Darren, and I know you mentioned about this question's in regards to kind of the reliability of the data. And data is only obviously valuable if it's reliable and actionable. And I'll actually put it out to either one of you or ask you the same question on this. And I'll start with Darren. Darren, can you share how TGI's reliability, both in terms of the devices and data, and has impacted your confidence in the decision making? So is the data you're receiving today, I guess, reliable, and is it actionable for your operations?
I would say that it's highly reliable because these are, I know I've said it a bunch of times, self-contained devices. They just run. The failure rate is so minimal because, again, you don't have the issue of cabling, cable chafes, anything like that. The fact that it's satellite, you always have connectivity. So the data is, I would say, extremely, extremely accurate. So for us, it just has to be the way to go.
Excellent. And how about you, Ritchie? What's your thoughts on the reliability of the data?
Yeah, I totally agree with Darren. And on top of that, maintenance has the tool within the portal to be able to manage the devices, right? So we can watch and see if batteries are getting low and need to be adjusted and dealt with. You can sort of deal with the situation before an incident goes bad, or if there's a bad device, you can get notified of that detail. So there's tons of tools inside the system to allow you to monitor the devices.
Excellent. All right, gentlemen, that kind of wraps up the questions, our Q&A with our panelists. Just going to turn over to my colleague, Alex. Alex, do we have any Q&As from our guests?
Yeah, so this is kind of a question, broadly about the sensors. So we mentioned sensors at the very beginning, and maybe Todd, you could also speak to this a little bit. So one of the questions was about the capability of detecting loaded/empty. So can you just briefly, Todd, speak about the sensor capabilities, and then I'll add to that after.
Yeah, we at TGI we have a multi-purpose or multi-use sensor. It's called the Vizicube. I'm not sure if you can see it on my screen here. And when I say multi-purpose, it actually does a number of things. It does door open, door close. It does cargo volume, whether the trailer is loaded or unloaded, and it does a temperature and humidity, so deviation in that temperature. So we have the capabilities to write new scripts. So if there was a certain use case, if somebody had currently we're looking at shock and vibration and hard braking or some future scripts we'll be writing. But if a customer had a specific use case, we can write a script for that. So one sensor that does multiple, can produce multiple alerts and monitor multiple different types of alerts.
Okay, perfect. So kind of part two to that question is that, I'm not completely familiar, Ritchie or Darren, if you guys are currently utilizing the sensors, but do you plan on utilizing the cargo sensing or any of the sensor capabilities in the future? And if you could speak to that just a little bit.
You want to take that one, Ritchie?
Sure. We definitely looked at the sensors and just decided to roll out the product and get it up and running. It'd be something that would be a great add-on. Hasn't come around to be, but it's definitely a tool that will be useful.
Darren, anything to add?
Well, for us, the van operation is a relatively small portion of our fleet, and that sensor is not going to work so well on a flat deck. So I don't see that we're going to adopt too many of the sensors, but certainly there have been some opportunities in the past. So I think that we will put it in some of our fleet, but certainly not across all of them.
Perfect. We just had one other question so far. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to either type them in to the chat and I can bring them up now. We've talked a lot about the reliability of the data and the hardware. Is there another use case of the reliability of the hardware itself? I know we've talked a little bit about it being a potted unit. The solar battery, I think, is something that is pretty unique. How has the reliability of the hardware been an asset or been a positive for you guys?
Well, for us, I can tell you that, again, being self-contained, the fact that it's solar and the batteries are good for 5 years, we haven't had too many instances where we've had any battery issues. So for us, being able to do a yard check, as an example, and not rely on having to have some sort of external power source is invaluable.
Yeah, I totally agree. Very minimal issues with the systems. And again, you have the portal to be able to monitor it. You can have notifications to tell you when there is an issue with a device, and you can deal with it right away.
Awesome. So I think the last question, that we haven't really brought up as a use case, but when it comes to dwelling of assets at customer locations, has a solution helped you in related to capturing dwell as part of your ROI?
Ritchie, you want to head that one off?
Yeah, sure. Yes, it has. Not on the first rollout, but we've implemented that in last year. So being able to monitor equipment that's being spotted at customers, or customers that are moving equipment around when you don't know that. There's a couple of different ways that you can track that detention, but absolutely, it's starting to be kind of phase 2 of that project.
And I'll add to that just a little bit. Whether or not you bill for detention, information is power. So when you're renegotiating with your customers, you can actually provide concrete information on what that dwell time is. And I think that is really where the value comes in.
Excellent. Well, thanks, gentlemen. I know we're coming up to the bottom of the hour here, so we'll just close things out. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for joining us for today's webinar session, and I hope you found the session valuable and are walking away with some insightful, helpful insights. We'll be sending out a recording of the link to all the attendees, and so feel free if you want to go back and revisit the presentation. If you are interested in learning more about TGI in the email that you will receive, there'll be contact information that you can reach out to us. A special thanks to Ritchie and Darren. I know you guys are super busy. Thanks for taking the time to come on and speak about your insights and your expertise. And to everyone for participating today, we really appreciate that. And that's it for our session. And everybody have a fantastic day.